So we went without cousins for many years until recently. And it's been a great thing to know a family member now. And she's had us over for Thanksgiving. She's cooked at his condo, and it's been wonderful. So for that, I thank you. And for him bringing you into at least my side, I think you've met Jackie and Joe. It's been really great because it's like finding a whole new family or family branch. And so for that, I'm very happy. When he got to Atlanta, he was happy and he was living with it. But it got to the point that I could see tinges of him not being happy. Like I'd say, hey, we got to get it. I'd have to set my Alexa up because he'd oversleep his dialysis. So I had to set that up so that we can get up. And sometimes he'd oversleep, and I'd go in there and say, hey, we got to hop to it. And, you know, he'd just put his head down and discuss knowing that he had to go to the dialysis. Luckily for both of us, it was only that 5 minutes away. It was very, very, hey, Mason. Where are you at, Mason? So, he's not allowed to drink Diet Coke, so. So I saw the twinges of him not liking it there, but he lived with it, and he never made it down to our ocean condo, which I wanted to take him to, and he never made it to my boat. I wanted to take him to, but it just didn't work out. Both my aunt started their transition, and there was no time to get him to hospice, unfortunately. And I'm going to tell you something. One of the greatest things in the last 30 years is hospice. If you come upon it, if you know somebody, it's a wonderful deal. It's all about comfort and care. And the fact that they can deal with pain as well helps them slowly transition. And we've got some nurses, people in the health building. Barbara, you can testify that. Anybody else that's here? Karen. It's a wonderful thing. Never discount it if you're involved in anybody's decisions. It's a good way to go out. It's definitely the way I want to go out because you're given pain pills, and it's all about comfort there. And I couldn't get my aunt there in time. She passed relatively quickly. Luckily, I was there. I was holding her hand and talking to her. And up until the night before she died, she was kind of acknowledging that, which is I mean, you wouldn't think so, but there's a person in here, even if you think that there isn't. And that's one of the best ways to find out. Holding their hand, feeling them, they will acknowledge you. And my aunt did that until the night before she passed. The night that she passed. My father was the same way. He went very quick. I think he had a heart attack, and his cardiologist had said, if he has another half attack, he's not going to survive. He told me and warned me that. So I always kept activities at a minimum. And, you know, he'd fallen a couple times in his bedroom. I had a camera set up. He didn't like that either. But I had to have it because he was in an upstairs bedroom. And so some nights I'd hear boom. And I'd go up there, I'd look at the camera, and sure enough, he had like gotten up to do something. And he was always trying to do something. Picking up lint, doing whatever, moving his cap. And so he had tried to move his cap that was on the floor, and he just fell for it. But if it wasn't for those cameras, I wouldn't know what was going on. You just go up there and see somebody on the floor, and you don't know. And I learned that lesson with my mom and my aunt. So cameras, although they violate their privacy and they don't like it, are a good thing. So there's another note. When me and Fernando put our heads together and write a book about caregiving, that will be a chapter in itself. But they do help, and I don't care about privacy. It's nothing I ain't seen before, you know. And actually, we had a camera in my aunt's bathroom because she would have it fall off the toilet. And, you know, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. So, anyway, he had got to like it, and we have a wonderful caregiver nurse that when my mom first came down there, we hired her. Her name's Angie. She started off watching my mom and then my aunt when she came, and then towards the end my father. But she doesn't really take care of men. Some caregivers just take care of women, and some take care of men. And she doesn't really take care of men, but what we did is when my aunt died, we asked her if she would cook for my dad and do his laundry and stuff, and she did. So we were lucky enough to have her. When my mom goes, I don't know what we're going to do, because she's been such a force for all three, well, for all of us there, and a very, very positive force. So it's helped break the, I don't even know what the word to call it, the day in and day out, and the nights and the weekends. We could never leave our house for more than 3 hours. My Aunt Dolores was the problem child there because she had sundowners, so she'd get all messed up when the sun started going down. And we have a big staircase at our house, and you know, I tried to put a thing in there, and somehow she got through all that. So she got through all my barricades. And one time, the worst of it was, I'm sitting there watching a camera, and all of a sudden I see her down by her swimming pool, which is totally down the stairs, out the house, and then around the bend. And we have a 12-foot diving in, so that's kind of dangerous for kids and Alzheimer's. But that was the one time that she got away from us, and after that time, I put the alerts on the cameras that would show motion. So then I would get an alert on my phone when somebody would cross this path. So I put it facing the hallway, so whenever she made a break for it, I'd have it and I'd get alerted. So always on our toes because of that. But Angie was instrumental, and to be honest with you, when we lost my aunt 2 weeks ago, it really threw her loop. So caregivers care, and we found the right one, and I don't know what we're going to do when my mom passes. We may ask her to stay on as a maid or something, I don't know what, because it's going to be mighty hard and quiet in that house when she's gone. When my mom's gone, and actually I'm not looking forward to going back because it's going to be very quiet. Every morning I get up, I go see my aunt. There she was in the family room upstairs, watching Golden Girls or Mama's Place, Mama's House, eating her cinnamon swirl and drinking coffee out of her mug. I don't have that no more. Every morning I get up and check my dad and take him to dialysis, or we go out to Idaho. Don't have that no more. So it's going to be an adjustment for a lot of people. Don't know if that's good or bad. Probably initially it's going to be bad, and it's going to be good. That we have freedoms. But when my aunt got sick, I had to deal with her dying in Atlanta, and this presents problems because she's, as a Catholic, she has to be buried in a cemetery in a coffin, and I was in Atlanta, so I had to get a funeral home in Atlanta to embalm her because the clock is ticking on the human body decaying, and the longest you can go is like 7 days. And so we had to do that, and then ultimately we had to fly her body here, and we had to make funeral wake arrangements, which happened to be here for those of you that came, you know that. But, and I'm going to go off the rails again, but I just want to tell you folks, make sure you make plans when you're not here. And what I mean by that is make your funeral plans. Make your kids know what you want done. Don't leave it up in the air. Because what happens is the grieving people that rightfully should be grieving have to deal with that issues that probably you should have taken care of. Now, with the exception of my aunt, because my aunt was different, nobody else has an out. My mom doesn't have an out. He told me he had everything taken care of. But I didn't investigate it. All I knew is that he was going to be buried in a VA cemetery. And I know those are free. So, to that point, he was right. He gets to be buried in the cemetery for free. But what he didn't realize is that there's funeral costs. And they're not cheap. And I'm not trying to nickel and dime or do any of this. Everything's taken care of. All I'm saying is the importance of anybody over 60 making your plans so that the grieving family doesn't have to deal with it. And there's all kinds of things called burial insurance. You can get all this on a payment plan, so you can pay for 5 or 6 or 7 years. You can get a cemetery plot that get paid for too. So it eliminates a lot of things, and it's just about proper planning. So don't do that to your kids. Plan appropriately. And find some, if you can't trust your family, then find somebody that you can trust. And tell them what your wishes are. Because the last thing that needs to happen is me trying to guess. Or somebody, what did mom want to do? What does she want to do with the house? What about her car? What about that bank? That's just, that needs to be taken care of. Luckily, all this is said and done for you, but I'm just making those notes for those of you that are at the age, and I'm including anybody at least my age or older. I'm 65, so there you go. Once you take care of that, you're going to breathe a lot easier, and you don't have to burden anybody of the family on any of that stuff. So for that, it's very, very important. Don't mean to be lecturing. Once my father, me and my father drove a car back to Kansas City to attend my aunt's funeral. And when we got here, he's very happy. We left at night, and I drove straight through in 12 hours. And it's a beautiful drive during the day. He didn't see much at night. However, it was a full moon, so he got to see something. But when you go through the hills of Tennessee and whatever, so he was really up and attentive. I said, Pop, go to sleep. You don't need to stay up. But boy, he loved that ride. And it was probably the last thing he really, really enjoyed. Once we got to Kansas City, unfortunately, he got sick. And when you have kidney dialysis, they have to remove fluids